Welcome.
Ahora.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Francesca. How's your English? You good with English? You will understand?
I think I can do the basic conversation. No, not the very complicated vocabulary, but
You will understand. If you don't understand anything, just let us know.
okay. If I don't understand one word, I will ask you.
Yes, please
Okay?
do. Yes. Okay. Welcome. We could also go live on Zoom, on Facebook. Can we do that?
Sure.
Okay.
We wait 2 minutes?
Yes.
Yes. You can think about questions.
Yes.
That you want us to answer maybe during this live. The joy of being a rebirther.
Yes.
Part 1.
Irene, you are beautiful.
Thank you.
It asked me if I... Huh. It's going on... Oh. Okay. Rebirth International, which is the Facebook group, Rebirth International.
I think we usually live stream into the Rebirth International community group.
Okay.
So you are connecting from America, India, Europe?
Yes. Now we are going live and now we can start. Okay. So, welcome everybody. My name is Heike Strombach and I'm a rebirther since 91. So the first year I had my sessions as well. I started as a rebirther and I started as a trainer, and I'm here with Irene Jovi Baumann, and she will speak for herself, as well as Sarah Dawn, and both of them my closest friends. So we're happy to have all of you here in this live Zoom call, as Irene said, the joy of being a rebirther. And yes, Irene, I hand it over to you for a moment.
Okay, welcome. I am Irene or Irina or Irene or whatever. And my first 10 sessions, I took them in 89, and then a few months afterwards, my rebirther told me that Leonard would come to Spain to give a training. Then I thought, I have to be there. And then in March 90, I did my first training with Leonard Ford. And then it was like my passion, rebirthing, since 2007, when I gave up my safe work as a social worker. And since then, I am completely dedicated to this passion, to this my love, no, to rebirthing. Mhm. So now I give trainings, sessions, and whatever about rebirthing, all rebirthing.
Right, Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Sarah Dawn. I had my first breathwork sessions in 2002. And I hadn't heard of Leonard yet, but fortunately I was getting individual sessions through a student of his, or several lines down. And after my first session, I just knew this is what I'm here to do. It was like, wow, you know, I was in my 20s, and my whole life, I didn't know what I wanted to do until the breath found me and I found the breath. And so I just began searching for who I could get sessions from. I ended up in a weekend event that was around consciousness work, if you could call it that, energy and life and mastery. And I heard the trainer mention unconscious death urge. So I got into breathwork in a really strange way with Leonard. So I thought, well, unconscious death urge, that's something I've struggled with. And I want to learn more. I have to learn more about that. And so the trainer told me, you need to get in touch with Leonard Orr. That was 2002. So I looked online, I found the information, and I was shocked to see that Leonard was the founder of the breathwork movement, the modern day breathwork movement. And I won't go too much into detail, but that was just the beginning. I called him up and went out for my first training. I'd already had 10 sessions, but it was with different people, and my 9-day training was just fantastic. And just, yeah, launched from there. I've not gone, it's been a while since I've done rebirthing full-time for work. I'm a stay-at-home mom right now, but I'm super excited to get back to it really soon. Just starting a little training soon in a few weeks, and it's been like six or 8 years since I've been able to really do trainings or do the work. So I'm just thrilled. I did a lot of administrative work for Leonard and his organization.
And you are still putting out the newsletter for
And I still
us.
am.
Yes.
Dedicated
Okay.
to serving the community.
We
Thanks.
thought that we start with Irene and me telling you how our beginning of our career as a rebirther was, and the most challenging moments of that, or then how it progressed in later years. You know, what we found, or what we created for ourselves. And then to talk about truth, simplicity, and love, Babaji's main teaching, and how that applies for our work. So Irene, would you like to go?
Okay, I can talk about my start as a rebirther. I had a very long start because, as I said, my first training was in 90. And then that year, I started as a rebirther the whole time in 90. But then a lot of stuff came up from me in my personal process. So I stopped being a rebirther at the whole time. And then I went back to the social working. And then from 91 till 2007, I was a rebirther part-time. And then I had my first 10 clients through 10 sessions during all these years. So I was like in my rhythm. But then in that time, the clients that came to me were clients that showed me my inner conflicts. So it was good that I had another job to feel stable, because I was still processing myself a lot during these first years as a rebirther. And so I had maybe 1-2 clients, but in a very long time, no? And then when I decided to be a rebirther in full time, then it was very quick. I applied, or I put in practice what Leonard said about how we can have a full agenda of clients. So I quickly had a full agenda. I did lectures every 2 weeks, a lecture, and I sold a lot of books of rebirthing. So my goal was also to difundir in Spanish,
To deepen,
no,
expand.
to expand rebirthing, to inform about rebirthing as many people better, no? It was a time that we didn't have Facebook, Instagram, so it was like going to a center and talking about rebirthing. And then I started to give little workshops, So first 2 hours workshop, then 4 hours workshop, then 1 day workshop, and then 9 months, 1 day every month, 1 Saturday each month, about topics. So this was my beginning as a rebirther full time.
So you basically practice what we teach in the clientele building, with the lectures, with the talks. And how long did it take you to get your full clientele?
Months only.
Yeah, so that's a promised time when we practice this.
Yeah.
Even without Instagram or Facebook, if you really connect with people, yeah, it takes 1 month. That's my experience too.
Yes, and then I was still processing a lot. I was doing a lot of affirmations with a column of response. So processing my unconscious, my insecurity about, because many people said that would be not possible, because the financial crisis started at that time, that year,
Right.
global financial crisis. So many people said, oh, you are fool that you left your safe work. So, but my passion was very strong, and I continue with this goal, and I succeed. So
Yeah.
it's very important not to listen the bad thoughts of other people.
Right, and it's good. We should later, we can talk more about our own healing and personal process, because you're also saying, because we have a few people here that I know personally from the training that are just starting their career. And, you know, when we have to work with other people, and at the same time, our own emotions and feelings are coming to the surface, it's doubled attention that we have to give. We have to give attention to ourselves, and then we have to also be there for the client. And so that in the beginning, yeah, takes a lot of attention.
Yes, and the first clients are the one who more question you. You know, you are not a good rebirther, or they put you into challenges. So it's important to trust, and also to build your image as a rebirther in the first times, because you are not sure about you as a rebirther. So that It's very important also. So I took many rebirthing sessions from other rebirthers. We exchanged a lot. So that was my first
Yes.
etapa.
Well, for me, I had my first session at Campbell Hot Springs, the center that Leonard had at that time for the last year. And so I started my rebirthing career actually in spiritual community. And I stayed living there for the whole year of 91, besides travels, going to Australia once and picking up my last belongings from living there before, and then to India and Germany. But spiritual community as such is also a very intense experience. Living with people that are going through their own personal healing process that sometimes can take very strange forms. And all the emotional stuff is always up because we were doing every Monday, a new training was starting. And so in that context, on that first Monday that I arrived on a Sunday, I had my first rebirthing session, and it was like making love with God. And that hooked me totally. I had never felt so loved in my whole life. I mean, this session, I mean, I cried and I didn't have words why I was crying, but I felt so loved and so deeply connected that I was in awe for the rest of the week. And I thought, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do with other people. I was a nurse before. I was working in nursing homes, psychiatric hospitals, and to let somebody in. And so I knew the suffering of the world. And then hearing the words of physical immortality was like the antidote to all the suffering that I had watched and participated in my own life. And of course, my own healing was also going on. And then so I started basically giving sessions in that context of spiritual community, and then started leading the trainings. And there were always new people coming in, and the more challenging people were the ones that were living there, because they forgot to do the practices after some time, and all the drama that goes on when people live together. And Leonard wasn't around that year. Anything, Sarah, you would like to share about your beginning?
Oh, I just, yeah, I mean, I did my 9-day training, and I remember Leonard saying, you know, most rebirthers, when they leave the community, because I had 9 days with my little community, it's just 2 other trainees, one for the whole 9 days. And it was hard to leave, because I felt like family at that point. And so returning home, he'd given me the name and phone number of one rebirther that he knew that was an hour's drive away from me. And so I got in touch with him. This was Aaron Overstreet, my good friend Aaron. And he and I set up trades. So I would drive up there, I think at least once a month, if not weekly, we traded sessions for years, many, many years. And that, I feel like, really was key to supporting me in my own healing and in my ability to step into self-employment. I'd always been employed and worked jobs. So, I mean, I had done a few, I was giving horseback riding lessons as a teenager, but it was just so new for me. I mean, I was very young. I was 24, I think. And so having that other rebirther's support was just elemental for me. Leonard was absolutely correct, because I had no other support going on except for phone calls with Leonard. And he was traveling and not always available. but I did a bit of the clientele. I didn't actually get the full clientele building seminar in my 9 days. Somehow
Oh,
that was
really?
not provided. Yeah.
Oh,
I guess we were jaunting off on other things. And so Leonard and his wife at the time, Isabel, were like, you're going to do great. You're, you know, we believe in you. And I was like, all right, off I go. And I just so knew that I so trusted the breath of not only my breath, but the breath in general for everyone, that there's a higher power happening there that is beyond my control. And I just was so in trust with that. And so, but I did send out flyers. I contacted everyone I knew. I was even just offering sessions for free because these were my first clients. And I was very upfront. Look, I'm just launching my career. I'm just now getting started. And I had 3 lovely people show up, beautiful people, totally open and trusting with me. It was a magical experience. I took them all through 10 sessions over several months, and that built my confidence. And I rented an office space. I organized an evening seminar for Leonard while he was passing through Oregon. It was really just a magical time in my life, also really challenging, facing all of my fears, and my, confidence and self-esteem. I really wasn't coming in with a lot of that. I had to work through a lot. So, yeah, having Leonard's support and most importantly, a rebirther that I could work with and trade with, who was also launching his career to a certain degree.
right.
This was
So
fabulous.
we were going to talk, we are, like you mentioned it already, like our own healing comes first. That's what Leonard always encouraged us. For those people that some of you here, I think Sue and Francesca, you've all met Leonard, right? And Dr. Hemlata, also from India, has met Leonard. So some of you here have met Leonard personally, and other people have probably only heard about him. But Leonard was very truthful to himself by taking care of himself. And when he felt like his energy body couldn't handle anymore, then he would just take the right to go and do his own thing and take care of himself, which sometimes was quite challenging for the participants and also for me as a co-leader, of course. But he was always an example of taking care of his own healing process, and he wrote lots of books and short two pages on his healing process, and the newsletters were always filled because he wanted to empower us and to give us confidence when we are going through this. Because I know from my own from the trainees that are also especially going through supervision, we get to share about those first initial challenges that we face of being a rebirther. And so if we want to talk about the joy of being a rebirther, then of course we do have to speak the truth that our own healing will pop up anytime, and especially was sometimes triggered by challenges with the clients, but very often, like it was already mentioned by both of you, the fear or the insecurities. Mm-hmm. And so how do we maintain that joy? Because I know many people who gave up rebirthing or, do something different. I think if we now go into truth, simplicity, and love, we could look at the aspects that helped us to maintain the joy in the work, because participating in the healing of somebody else for me is the greatest joy. And maybe we can also share what is the greatest joy when we participate in the healing of other people.
Now, may I?
Sure, go ahead.
Now I was remembering that the first years, maybe even, as a rebirther, when I was not plenty of time in rebirthing, part-time, sometimes I experiment like anesthesia, me as a rebirther. When I rebirth a person, sometimes I went like sleepy. So it was like death urge also, no? Like the death urge of the client absorbed me, and I was like sleepy. And then yes, as I process my death urge, I can really experiment the joy of living and of being a rebirther. I mean, first it could be even sometimes like boring, the breath of some clients, because they were with a lot of anesthesia. But now it doesn't happen. It happens very, very few times when I get also like with anesthesia. But then I know that that's the process of the client, not my process. And it's only to help them to go through all the energy cycle to dissolve a big and deep concentration of EEP or trauma or whatever they have. And so when they keep breathing, and then they are able to dissolve this concentration, then a lot of liveness comes up for the client and for me as well. So I don't identify with this. I don't permit to be like involved with the EEP of the client, because I know it's not my EEP, because I love to take baths every day. For me, it's basic. The bath, everyday bath, is a basic thing of cleaning my energy body. Also fire, candles.
Yeah. So what you're saying, to repeat that, is basically in the beginning sometimes we get a bit confused with our own insecurities, with our own doubts in the breath, also with our own doubts in our own guidance, and our own insecurities and fears about our personal relationship that we have with the client. And so if that gets together, meshed up with what's going on with the client, then of course we could enter a state of confusion.
And also our own EEP, because we don't have so much practice with cleaning our energy body.
Right. So EEP, emotional energy pollution, to say that for anyone who hasn't done the training with us or with Leonard. So yes, so we this emotional energy concentration can also feel very overwhelming. It can take over, and like you say, when a client is sleepy or going through their process, or even anger or any kind of emotion, sadness, suddenly you could feel that emotion. And if you keep getting confused, is it mine or is it the client's energy, then you will it takes a lot of energy and concern and worries in your process, if you can say, this is not mine. And that takes practice, because we want to do as good as we can. It takes a bit of practice to know, okay, I can actually detach myself from what's going on with other people.
Mhm.
Sarah, anything you'd like to share about that?
Yeah, I love what you guys are sharing. I love that, Irene, you mentioned the bathing and the fire, because when I think of the joy of rebirthing, it, like the elements are just, that's it. I really feel that, like, if I was giving sessions and only doing breath work, I don't know how much joy there would be in that. It would be like having one wheel of the car to try and drive in, you know, it, because for me, I grew up with the elements. We had a fireplace in my house. Actually, we had 2 fireplaces. I spent a ton of time in the bath as a child. My parents let me do that into teenage years. And I mean, one of my favorite childhood memories was getting out of the bath and going and sitting next to the fire with my dad and combing my hair. And in wintertime, we'd be snacking on some nuts. I mean, we had hours with the fire, I think nightly. And it just, so for me, I've had experiences where it was very clear what was the clients, even before I met them. I have phenomenal experiences of going through an emotional process the night before I have a scheduled session and thinking, like, where is this coming from? This is like, wow, I don't even know, but I'm going to express this. I'm just going to let this energy flow through me and express. And then I would show up for my client the next day, and they would have that specific challenge that I had emotionally processed the night before. So it gets really magical, this and fun. I mean, that was like, just wow, this is incredibly fun to experience in working with clients and in knowing what's mine and what's theirs. And does it really matter? You know, does it even matter whose it is? If I'm not getting enmeshed and bogged down, I have the elements, I have fire. I can, if I'm feeling anxious and I know it's from a client, maybe it's triggering anxiety in me, I don't care. I just go and I sit with the fire and it's gone, and I can get back into my joy, or it'll take me deeper into my process, which is eventually going to bring me out on the other side of joy. But so that's the elements. But I also wanted to kind of backtrack to what you were talking about, Heike, the truth that Leonard he was so truthful and honest,
Right.
and would just take care of himself. But what I learned because I lived with he and his previous wife, Isabel, I lived with them off and on for about 6 months, and then spent some time traveling with them later on the West Coast. And really, that was like felt like a unique training for me, because I was living there on their property, going into the home daily to work with Leonard. And well, there's several things, but he would check in with me. How are you feeling? You know, what are you, oh, this was a self-sabotage thing you did. Let's take a break. So it wasn't like we're going to work from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. and we'll have a short lunch break. It was always this kind of organic, flowing process of following the energy. What can you be capable of right now and to produce and do? Or, oh, okay, you need to go take a bath. Or he would do the same, like, I can't do as much today. And that was so healing for me, growing up as a person, growing up in a culture that was always about work, 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 produce, 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 follow the clock, 9 to 5, no rest, no self-care. There's no self-care space for your divine being to express and heal and grow. So that was pretty magical. And then just watching him, I was also taking care of the property and the bookstore and everything while they were traveling. And I'd watch him come home from, airplane rides and trainings, looking pretty haggard and tired and aged. And he would take 3 days. He would do a fast. He'd spend it with the fire. So I would be having time off. I'd do the same. I wasn't fasting 3 days. But we would come back and he would just be totally rejuvenated, a different person. So I already knew the effects of the elements in me, but I got to see that firsthand in Leonard just over and over and over. And yeah, I mean, the joy of being a rebirther, it's all about the joy for me. It just really is. The elements give me so much joy. And sitting and watching people, initiating them into their own divinity, their own kundalini, the power of their own breath, it just doesn't get any better than that, you know, or initiating them into the fire. Yeah, I'll stop there. Thanks.
Himlata, you did the training with us. Would you like to share anything? Or you have anything? That's a long time I haven't seen you.
I know.
Good to see you.
Yeah, we've just come back from Babaji from Hyderabad.
Oh, really? Wow. I'm going there in September.
Yes, I've seen your website. And I've been in breathwork since about 9-10 years, and I'm a doctor by profession. So an allopathic doctor, and I've been in the Indian Army for about 30 years, retired. And after my first workshop on breathwork, I think I was sold on it. Now I don't give any medications. I do breathwork on them. And what you all said is perfectly right. You know, you're getting that divinity, you know, the divinity, and it's the divinity of the breath, of your client's breath and your breath, and the way they connect and the way you give them that space to do it. It's their private space, and we are keeping it secure for them to do whatever they feel like doing. They want to cry, they want to howl, they want to do anything, you know, non-judgmental space completely. And I think it's the most awesome thing, breathing. And I recovered after the first workshop. I was actually quite devastated. I lost my husband, diagnosed with cancer breast, all those things. So I was really devastated. But after the first workshop, I woke up and I said, hey, I've done so many other things. I'm a medical doctor. So I've seen so many patients in all my life. I said, hey, this is something in which I recovered so well. So let's give it to the others. And like I think Sarah was saying, many of them for a year, I kept giving sessions free, completely free. I said, please come and breathe every day. So here I am. I'm a trainer with my foundation. I'm also a trustee with them. And I go to all the Babaji's cave, and we go to Hyderabad Baba. Awesome. And I was with Heike and Leonard in Cologne. That awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Heike.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you. Yes. So the joy of being a rebirther is actually not only about ourselves, but it is the observation of what we see in the process of other people. The transformation, that magical transformation that happens in 2 hours of a session. And we are not actually doing something. So when we talk about true simplicity and love, we are actually taking ourselves back, because we are knowing humbly that this is a divine energy doing the work. And I can make myself a better facilitator by understanding about the physical structure, about the nervous system, or about trauma. And but it is the breathwork session happens on a different level as well. It is not just the physical experience. So no matter how much physically we understand the body, there is other bodies involved in the client that we and the person might not even be aware of it, and neither are we. Like, it involves possibly healing from past lives, from very early trauma in this life, that we might not even be aware what the content of that. We just know the after effects. We know the fears and the pains that we are holding, and seeing that in 2 hours, for example, in one session, release from the body and from the facial expression changes, and the body becomes relaxed, and just observing that joy in the person when they open their eyes and I just say, wow, what happened? Irene, would you go have anything you want to go? Yeah, I mean, you want to share?
About love, no? Truth, simplicity, and love.
Yeah, well, we can go more in detail about each one of them. Yes.
Yes, but
Heike, can I speak to
related-
simplicity?
Sorry,
Oh, sorry, Irene.
sorry. No.
Go
I
ahead,
just wanted
Laura.
to speak to simplicity in the sessions you were talking about, because I feel like since there are people here starting their practice, I think a pitfall in starting as a rebirther can be adding on too much, thinking I went through a phase, I felt like, oh, I need to find some music. I need to learn about past life hypnotherapy. I need to do more, present more information. I made it very complicated for a little while, and that really bogged it down and really was depleting and hindering my clients. And so the simplicity, I love that the simplicity of just holding the sacred space and the safe space and just the connected rhythm, just staying with the connected rhythm and the technique opens up this really vast, really complex scenario, like miracle. It goes anywhere and it goes as deep and as far and as complex as it needs to for that person. So I think that simplicity as a breath worker is foundational for the joy of yourself and your client. That's all I wanted to say about that for now.
Great. And we are not discouraging people to keep learning. I mean, I'm learning all the time.
Oh no, yeah.
and educating myself. But when you're sitting with somebody, you can forget anything that you know because you're just in present moment, observing the breath, guiding the breathing, and being present with the person, whatever they need in that moment. And then the more we think, Leonard used to say, you know, people have, if they have low self-esteem, they need to do something, to fix something, to interfere so that they feel they deserve and earn the money. But they're actually making it worse because it takes self-esteem to just sit there, let the divine energy do the work, and then at the end receive the money.
Mhm.
And many people want to be better than other people or whatever. So if we can let all that go and just be in the present moment, in the connected breathing, while watching the client in that process, then that's also leading us to love, because it's basically just loving somebody as they are, as they come to us.
Mhm. Something I recommend to my students is not to study, not to read a lot, to practice giving sessions, to be present, and to practice to trust their intuition. And then afterwards, after the practice, then we can read and then say, okay, that's what I have experienced as a client, as a rebirther, but not to fill the mind with concepts, ideas. And so simplicity is about letting the mind be calm, and the like the inferior mind, the ego mind, no? And to connect with the high mind, our high self, no? Our intuition. Yes, that's very important for me, because it was also for me because I used to feel that I wasn't ready. It's quite often, it's quite common as a rebirther, when we start to feel we are still not ready to give sessions, or we are not enough prepared. And it's about experience, not about reading the notes of the trainings. No, it's about starting giving sessions. And the practice, the experience will really give us the knowledge. So that's
Yes, so
because it's very simple.
so Leonard always said that when in the training, he doesn't want to train rebirthers, he wants to untrain people. And that means of all the conditioning, of all the preconceived ideas. And this untraining is based on the mind. Because like you say, if the mind is very active and very busy, how can we perceive the energy in the body, or even angels or beings or souls being present in the session, if our mind is in an intellectual debate?
Exactly.
And but that includes, you know, when we are processing our fears. If I think too much about my fears or my goals or desires for that session, I can also not be in that present moment and observe what's happening in the energy body of the client.
Exactly. And trust the breath, because the Leonard says, what is dangerous is not the breath, it's the mind. That's what puts us into troubles, our thoughts. Not
Right.
the breathing. The breathing is safe. So to trust the breathing cycle.
And that is true for the clients as well, because the clients only experience challenges in the session when their mind says, I should not be doing this, or I should get out here.
Mhm.
That's when it really becomes difficult, because even including strong physical sensations, if you're totally confident that this is part of the healing, which usually people have after 2-3 sessions, even when they have strong physical sensations, they know, okay, I get through this. So they also gain confidence with each session.
Exactly.
And it only becomes very difficult for us as a rebirther as well when somebody is in their mind and the mind says, danger. This is not in alignment what I think should be happening right now.
Mhm. Mhm.
So for me, truth, if we look at truth, so Babaji's message basically was, he didn't come to bring a new religion. He just said, basically, live by truth, simplicity, and love. So Babaji, for any who doesn't know, it's a saint, a master who lived in Hairakan, and that's why his name is Hairakan Babaji. And so his main teaching was to live in truth, simplicity, and love. And that truth, for me, I would say I do the best that I can. I'm just being honest about, like Leonard was, about his own personal process. I can fill whole seminars with my own personal process. And I think we all do that in our sharings, because we don't pretend. I think that's the opposite of truth, to pretend to be somebody else. We all came here with our shortcomings and things that we want to learn, and just being honest and truthful. It doesn't mean that we have to tell all our clients all problems that we have.
Mhm.
But not pretending that we are beyond human, and just being as good as we can be. So
Yes.
and some of you mentioned that, I make just a recap of that we trust the breath. it is the breath that does it. It's not my intellectual understanding, my intellectual knowledge. No matter how much I know about the biggies, about trauma, about how to coach, we still have to be there in present moment, holding the space. And for Leonard, the basic, most important quality of a rebirther, you remember, was patience. Patience. Sitting there for 2 hours, doing nothing else but to watch somebody breathing and turning more and more beautiful.
And gentleness, no?
Yes, gentleness. Gentleness and power at the same time. He was also saying that. Yes. It doesn't mean that sometimes we don't have to encourage somebody to go and breathe and move, but it's that love, through simplicity and love, that enables us to be there in that gentleness and in that patience.
And also I always remind that we are managing, or we are working with the inner baby of people. And the inner baby, it's very, very soft and very delicate, and yes, very vulnerable. So to be very subtle sometimes. It's okay to be like also like to in a few times, sometimes to give very clear instructions to when people are like out of the body, no? But usually also to remind we are working with the inner baby, not child, baby.
Because as soon as we start breathing connected, we are entering a different state of consciousness.
Exactly.
And we are regressed. After a few breaths, we are in a different emotional state. Like you say, in that vulnerability, in that rawness, in that purity. And we always have to watch out to, like Himlata also said, like to protect that space for our clients.
That's why one of the reasons of individual sessions.
Right.
To receive all this caring, attention, and to take care of the space, yes, as you said.
And I think one other important thing is also we don't have to pretend that we know the solution for anybody's problems. It's not my job to solve other people's problems. It is their own job. It's their own work. It's their own experience. And no matter how many words you use to give somebody guidance, if that is not in their path, in their understanding or in their wanting and willing, then you're just using your ego to pretend how much you know.
That's true. We can't push the person.
And so my favorite way is always to just ask questions. Where do you want to go? What is the goal for you? What challenge, how would you think you can solve that?
That's true. Yes. Yes, and about truth, for me, it's also about giving up our defense mechanism. It's called in English, defense mechanism. So to know more or less what kind of mechanism we have, our ego has, and be brave to let them go, no? That's of course that it's a process, no? During the years to be more our true selves, not our idea of ourselves.
So we could now ask if anybody has a question. Anybody? Sue, it's good to see you. Haven't seen you in a long time. Do
Questions
you have any questions?
or commentaries or
Yes, anything you like to share?
yes.
Well, I'm sitting on a bus
I saw
So-
that.
going somewhere. And since I'm looking for how I can get over my resistance to having clients where I live now. I had them in London. I have given sessions to my sister, which was brilliant. She was ill. But I'm looking to find out, maybe you, I don't know, somebody who can help me get over that. I talk a lot to people about what I do. I always drop it into the conversation.
Right.
So yeah, it's good to listen. And I used to have this thought they're always talking about Leonard, but Leonard's not with us anymore. But well, I'm trying to get over that one. Anyway.
Well, in some ways, he is still here because we some of us still hear or have conversations with him, and so
Okay.
just to say that, because he is not totally gone, and I think he is still available to us rebirthers and to his beloved community with his energy.
Yeah.
So what is your fear in bringing clients to the place where you're living? Do you is it a smaller place?
It's small. I mean, I invite the
You're breaking
hurt
up a
somebody
little
or
bit.
something.
We couldn't really understand.
Okay, I it's difficult for me to process because I'm on the bus.
Sure.
Although I could, but
But-
I'm gonna, maybe I'll be in touch in the future.
I would be very happy if you you have my email address, right? It's heikestromberg@gmail.com. Just my name at gmail.com.
Great.
Thank you. I'll be in
So then-
touch.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Thanks for
Great.
noticing me.
I always do. When I see you, I haven't seen you also in a long time. Thank you for being here.
I'm still
Sarah,
here breathing.
Huh?
I'm still breathing. I'm still at it.
Great.
Thank you.
Right. Sabra, did you have a question or anything?
Yes, I just wanted to do remarks. So hi everybody. So I'm a rebirther for a bit less just a year, I think, actually. And I'm very happy that we are having this, that you are presenting this because I'm exactly in this phase. So the phase of wanting to do a lot of different services as well. So because you don't feel like it's enough, you want to bring other things. So I'm really in a time where I'm trying to just refocusing on rebirthing, because actually for my own inner peace, it doesn't work to diversify so much. Rebirthing is really taking a lot, and actually it's enough. It's enough. So I'm really happy with the permission slips that you are giving me, and in this, so it confirms my doubts, and as well as trying to put myself out there. Not being scared. What I'm offering is really valuable. I'm holding space. I let people heal themselves, and so thank you so much, everybody, for this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sabra. Wonderful.
Where do you live? Where?
I'm living currently in the Netherlands, but I'm from France.
You live in Netherlands now.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did the training with Doreen and me in Holland.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Great.
Well, it is at the moment, I think many of the people that did the training, they are very much into gathering knowledge, gathering information and that is good. And it can be very stressful because you will never know enough, because I can tell you 100 different directions, which also are very important, because we're not just having the physical body, we have the emotional body and all that you could study with that. We have the astral body, the emotions, and we have the soul on the higher level. And so we are present to all of it in the session. And if we are focused to one-sided on one point of attention, then we are missing out. And how will you be present? It's only by not thinking. Because if you're thinking, oh, I read in this book and what did that say? And here I should put that in practice, and then you're struggling and you're thinking, but you're not paying attention. And so I'm not discouraging people to learn. I think that's good. And not making one little aspect the whole picture. Because people are way bigger than just one aspect. They are not their trauma. They are not their little limitations. People are bigger than that. And we have to hold that space, I think, as a rebirther, because the breath will take it. The breath will take it all. And it will reveal all of it. And if I'm just like focusing and I'm only working with people who have problems with the physical structure, or only with people who have trauma, I mean, we all a collection. And so holding that space for that big divine being that we are takes humbleness and takes presence. And the more you can trust yourself, and maybe people get trust and confidence by learning a lot. So that's one way that they feel more confident, and that's okay. But that however you get that confidence, it is your presence that makes the success of the session. And that presence should be based on love, on truth, and on simplicity. Irene?
Yes, I was thinking about not to believe people's belief when they with the clients. I mean, if a client identified with a drama or whatever, me as a rebirther, I have to see him or her in his biggest potential, not in the little ego mind. So to see the clients healed, I mean, in his best version. So we give permission, then the energy through the breathing can manifest, and yes, and so the miracles occurs.
Right.
Let the space for the miracles happen.
Right. And it's beyond what we do, actually physically do. It's just like Hemlata said before, we are holding that space that spirit can enter through the breath into the whole being of the person. And that's like my first session, I was in that oneness. And how many techniques are there where in 2 hours you get into that place? that's the beauty and the power of the rebirthing. Yeah, I also don't know any, I mean, ayahuasca is one thing that I had that experience with, but still the breath is something that I have with me all the time, and that can connect me to that place, and we are just holding the space for people, and that's the joy of a rebirther. Because when somebody is lying there with a totally grateful expression on their face, in an awe about life and loving life, and that's the beauty, and that's not your coaching, that is not what you know that did that. It is the divine presence that gave that experience.
Exactly. And also value each little progress. So I remember I had once a client who always slept during the sessions, even stand up. But he had a good 10 sessions because he stopped having apneas during the night. But yes, but apparently nothing happens during these 10 sessions. But they were very values. So to value each little thing can be a very big change in life of people, no? Of ourselves as well, of course.
And
Irene, I want to jump in and say I love that you shared that, because I remember when I was starting, I would place my value on like what results were my clients getting. Like if they were, because I did have clients that were very difficult to keep awake, standing up, or anything. I had a few, and I think that can really crush an early breath worker's confidence, maybe,
Yes.
and thinking like, this isn't working, I'm doing this wrong. But I mean, clearly things were happening for my clients outside that we couldn't see within the framework of the session, because they were doing the connected breathing. So I just love that you shared that experience.
Thank you.
And that's one of the things that is shared most in the supervision calls when people start as a rebirther. It's like, oh, nothing happens, or what do I do? What do I have to do? And to really trust that energy that knows best, because we don't want to force anybody into anything. We just let it unfold. So sometimes we can encourage the breath to be stronger and more powerful, and we can give it a push in that way, but through the breath, and it's loving, and it is based on support. And loving the client to let go of their limitations.
And trust the breathing, because sometimes we can have challenging sessions. For example, I remember one session when the client got all this face paralyzed. So it was like challenging for me, no? But then trust the energy cycle, all the sessions, all the breathing session, no? So at the end, the face was completely well again. So afterwards she told me she already had this
Paralysis.
This paralysis she had, so probably it was like the rest of the healing. So sometimes por suerte, sometimes, only a few times, no, we can have very challenging sessions, but our only mission is to be there, present, and trust the breathing, and to support the energy cycle until the end, and then all will be okay again. So, but at the first sessions with the first clients can be a little like scaring sometimes, no? But then it's important to trust and to continue.
And we now, you and I would do the 3-week trainings as basic to start people to be a rebirther. So we are covering a lot of details also in the healing process about the biggies, the mind, the physiological situation in the body and all this. So we are covering a lot of things. So it's not that we are not teaching and wanting to understand and to know, but the experience can be without words. It's different than, you know, and the teachings that we are initiating people with to be a breath worker, they are the foundation for holding confidently that space for the person to go through challenging experience.
Exactly.
And learning by doing, we always have people from the first day usually observing sessions and not just receiving, but then starting to give sessions.
Okay.
I love that, Heike. It's so important because the breath is so simple. The connected breathing rhythm is so simple. The process is so simple. Anyone really can do it, but there is a whole complexity behind creating the sacred space, understanding what can happen in a session and how to be with it, and then cultivating your own intuition, because it's not what we know. I mean, there is that baseline. We need to have a framework for our mind. We need to have some framework and structure there, and that's what the trainings offer. But the trainings also offer this experience of the intuition and the feeling of the having a clean enough energy body to sense and to know. And so it's a really masterful art that I don't feel can be transmitted in any way other than an in-person experiential residential training.
Mhm.
And I want to say too, like just publicly here, I say this to my friends all the time, but there are so few people offering Leonard's specific training, the format of the elements and the purification and the content. And you both, to me, are just masters at this. You've been doing it, you know, more so in depth than I have, and longer. And I just so value the work that you're offering to people, really, really continuing Leonard's legacy. And his style of rebirthing is so unique, and it's a different experience, and it's a whole suite of it's a whole, you know, it's a 3-meal deal. It's not just here, come and breathe and have a sensational experience, and you know, and then off you go. It's just so much more in depth than that. So it is a complex and beautiful structure and community that you guys are offering. So thank you.
Yes, and Irene and I are going to meet soon on Menorca, because we have our training now structured as 400-hour trainings in alignment with the GPBA, the organization that came out of the IBF. And so we have our trainings aligned with that. We always did this work, but now we have it also like in that format, and Irene and I doing the same work. And once a year we meet and we do the special advanced leadership training. And we still have places on Menorca for anybody who wants to come and join. I know Sabra wants to come next year, I think. Yeah, so But just for you to know, we take the training very serious in the way that we do want to train high quality people. We do want to make sure that the people that go through our trainings, they understand holding that space. They don't have to be perfect. We're all still going through our own personal healing. That Leonard said, it takes 50 or 100 years to clean all our ego stuff. So we don't have to be in a hurry about it, and we don't have to be stressed about it. And while we are doing our own healing and enjoying our life, we're also contributing and participating in the life and the aliveness of other people.
Mhm.
And we want the people to have that basic bottom line trust that they are good enough to hold that space and work with people and support other people. And like Sarah, what you're saying, I think Irene and I were doing that. We are holding that space, and it's a great pleasure.
And Menorca is very beautiful.
Yes, 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 yes. And Armando Sanchez will be there, who is the president of RBI, of RIBA, of RBI Spain. And we have some participants, and we will have a night out on the beach with fire, and we will have lots of fun and also very deep sharings. We will talk about the archetypes and going deeper into the inner child by Irene and the personal law.
The birth script as well.
Yes, so
Very
we
nice.
have lots of topics we will be working during the day and then enjoying ourselves on the beach.
That's
And the
going to be
hotel-
such a rich
beautiful.
experience. Oh, sorry, Hege.
Yeah, and the hotel has bathtubs actually, and we will
Oh.
be swimming morning and night in the sea. So we are very well taken care of.
And so if anyone is interested in learning more about those events or registering, they would contact you, or they could go to our website, rebirthingassociation.com.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
And Irene, what is your email address?
Rebirthing yoga, Jover, like my name, last name,
JOVE.
email.com.
Thank you. Any other questions before we wrap up here? Or I'm very happy about this meeting. I mean, we had little thoughts about, you know, how it would, how we are doing it, and but it's unfolding very beautiful also with all of you sharing here. So if there's any other comments or questions that we could answer before we finish for today. And yes, please, Sue, and also Himlata, and and of course Sabra, I see you on my birthday. And
Yeah.
anybody. So stay in touch, Sue.
Yes, just sorry again.
Thank you.
I'm taking advantage of that you said there's questions, because that you're here as well. Very soon, I'm going to give a lecture online to present.
Wait,
present birthing.
one second.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I'm
just going to tell you first. So I had the opportunity to present a live session for a company, but it's for directed to small business owners, people who want to start, actually me, directly to myself, but and the CEO of this company is very interested in rebirthing breathwork, and he asked me to do half an hour, a small session just to introduce. So my plan so far is just to introduce rebirthing breathwork, trying to put it more towards the challenges of those people, so self-confidence, productivity, all these things. and also present the legacy. So speaking about Leonard or how is it going so far, and then do the small breathing exercise that we do every day. So do you have any tips on that? Because I want to do good. So
Well, what you said is very important. I mean, in a lecture, you can't really go into a session besides the little experiential things, and but you can do anything that is connected with breath awareness. You know, how the breathing is flowing, what happens in our body. And I'm happy to give you a little bit more on the WhatsApp
okay.
in more detail about that,
Okay.
if you like.
Sorry,
Like, yeah.
I'm not sure if I understood. You said about lectures you are giving?
And it's not a really lecture, that's just a few exercises. So that will be just half an hour, an introduction. So it will be a small introduction and some breathing exercise for the people, just to tell them about the connected breathing, basically.
Okay. Something I am starting to do when I give lectures or little workshops is breathing lectures. I mean, to invite somebody to come and to breathe a little bit, only for 2 or 3 minutes, and then to watch up how she or he breathes. Maybe he push the exhale or whatever, no? And then you can give them a feedback.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't thought of
A
that.
breath
Really,
analysis.
You can also
It's
teach
called
them
a breath
20,
analysis.
20 continuous connected breaths, 20
Sorry?
ccb, 20
Yeah.
ccb, psychic. That is a very good takeaway.
Right, that's a breathing exercise that Sabra.
Yes, very short and very powerful, very, very powerful.
Right.
20 ccb.
Thank you.
Bernard Orr would, he taught us.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you. Mm.
Okay, wonderful. I
Okay.
think you will do
Yeah.
wonderful. You're
Good.
well prepared. Okay, thank you everybody who is here with us
Thank you.
right now, and anybody who was watching us and watched us on Facebook. And we will have this, of course, available on Facebook for anybody who likes to watch. And I will also put it on YouTube.
Wow.
And so it is repeatable. And thank you, everybody. Beautiful souls.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carrying
Lovely
out the
meeting.
work of Leonard that
Bye,
he
Bye, everybody.
found. And okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, and
Have a nice
Thank
night.
you.
see you soon. And maybe in India, Himlata, maybe we can
Yes.
connect. I will
Yes.
come to Bangalore as well.
Yeah. Yes, I saw your website. Mm.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Om
Om
Namah
Namah
Shivaya.
Shivaya.
Thank you, Heike. Thank you, Irene.
Thank you.
Good evening, and I will finish the meeting. Ciao.
Bye. Ciao.